Well, today we're at Denver Botanic Gardens, and I'm meeting with one of their senior horticulturists, Maria. Nice to meet you.
Yes,
Nice to have you
yes.
with us today. We're going to come and tour one of your gardens that you're responsible for, the cutting garden.
Correct, yes. So we use these flowers for cut arrangements.
Some of them are perennials, some of them are annuals. You can mix that in with your gardens and you'll have great flowers. Now, what are some of your favorites here?
I really like the annual status because they come in a variety of colors, the pink, the purple, the yellow. I also like the different celosias. They kind of look like brains. And then the fresh look with more of a taller kind of open plume celosia over there.
Do you even have some plants in the shade back there? Hydrangeas, one of my favorite things in all the world back there, and they make a great indoor arrangement plant as well.
Yes.
But I see things like purple coneflower and sneezeweed and yarrow, all things that everybody should be familiar with, make a great cut flower as well as something that will give you color all summer long. Now, one thing that we're going to go tour next is another one of your gardens, and I think you're really going to like this because it takes the flower business one step further and incorporates it into the vegetable garden. All right, and the reason I'm really happy about coming here is I like the way you've got it organized. This is a little different than your normal garden in that you've got vegetables in here and all these flowers all mixed together, and it seems to work just perfectly.
Yes, yes. The vegetables kind of add a little bit of a structure, and at the same time, the annuals kind of deter certain insects and bugs from infesting the vegetables. So it's a good relationship.
Now, what is AAS?
All American Selection is a program that selects annuals and vegetables each year that do well in North America.
I saw across the way over here that there's some chard and things as well that I wanted to go take a look at. So
Okay.
let's go walk over there.
Okay, sounds good.
So Maria, one thing you said over at the other part of the garden was that a lot of these plants are put in here as companion plants.
Correct.
The one plant helps another plant in some way, shape, or form. Now, right here, we're standing by the tomatoes. What has been planted here, and what's the reasoning behind it?
Here we have a cilantro delfinio, the allium, onion Sierra Blanca, and for companion plants we have the marigolds, which prevent nematodes from our tomatoes, and we have some snapdragons that also help prevent different bugs from coming onto our basil and cilantro.
Let's move down here. I wanted to go see these this chard. Now, you have a lot of produce that you harvest here. Where does it go?
We donated it to a lot of different local food shelters.
Now, last, before we leave this beautiful garden, I just wanted to point out the chard and how beautiful it is and how you keep this going all summer long.
Yes, the Swiss chard is it's a cool season crop. However, you can plant it in April. However, it's one of the crop that I have till late November that I'm still able to harvest. So it does really well in Colorado.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, it's a beautiful crop too, so I could see that in your flower beds.
Yes.
Now, you've kind of reversed it here. It's in the vegetable garden and you've added flowers to it. I like that. We did have some viewer mail that came in, some emails that came in on the website, and there were two questions about tomatoes, so I thought we might attack those right here now.
Okay, sounds good.
Now, one of them was that as the tomatoes grow and get good size, they start to crack at the top of the fruit.
Correct.
And how do you prevent that?
Yes. Well, that is happening because of it's been really cool this week, and next week it's going to get really hot, and it causes the tomato to swell. But what you can do is look for different varieties. Some of the newer varieties have been selected to prevent that. So,
yeah, they'll be labeled as crack-proof or crack-resistant varieties, but it has to do with having a big surge of growth when the temperatures heat up after a cool spell. And then you see the tomatoes crack a lot of times, and especially the old heirloom types are notorious for cracking. I don't think you can stop that from happening. And then the other question we had is one of my favorites because I see this all the time. It happens in my own garden. I know it happens to everybody, and that is blossom end rot on tomato fruit, which is the opposite end of the stem from or opposite end of the tomato from the stem. So it's where the blossom used to be, and your tomato will develop a brown, maybe a sunken spot at the end of the tomato, and it just doesn't look appetizing or appealing at all. But fortunately, it's not an insect or disease.
No.
It's really easy to take care of. It's environmental. typically, and that is the plants are getting too dry between waterings. And that's easy to happen during the summer months, especially when the plants are bigger and there's lots of fruit. It's hard to keep up with the watering when they get that size and the temperatures are hot. And another reason for that to happen is a lack of calcium. Now here in Colorado, calcium's not an issue in our soils in ground beds, but it is in containers
Yes.
and raised beds.
Yes.
Especially if the raised beds are filled with like a planter's mix and it doesn't have the native soil mixed. Because our native soil has tons of calcium. You'll never have to worry about that. So if you're raising your tomatoes in pots or in raised beds and you're getting that problem, you just know it's not the watering, then you want to supplement with a calcium supplement that you can buy. There's one on the market called Yield Booster. There are any number of things you
Yes.
can do to add calcium to your soil, and that will get rid of that blossom end rot problem. And it's not going to change the flavor of your tomatoes. So you can just cut the end off as long as you don't let your family see you do that.
Yeah.
They'll never know the difference. So just feed them those tomatoes and you get the best ones. Oh, by the way, if you have a question for us on the show and want to send us an email or post something on our website, go to digincolorado.com and you can ask us your questions there, and it might just get answered right here on the show. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to show us around your gardens. And coming up next, we're going to meet up with Will at the gardens here to see some of the great changes that have happened over the past couple of years. Stay tuned.